Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I will discuss one important topic of IT industry, which is software test automation framework. If you have ever been in touch with the IT software development industry, you may hear about words like below: BDD, Java, Selenium, Cucumber, object oriented programming, Maven. So I have Sharmin with me, who I'm going to train all this topic from today, part by part. So in this first part, we will try to understand the basic concept of all these things. Are you understanding?
Yeah.
Okay, so what all this thing is. So if you can see here, this guy is confused and he's thinking, what is all this thing? Now, cucumber is a vegetable, we know, and selenium is a vitamin. Am I going to eat it? Or I put them in my head like an oil? So you can see this confused guy here, right? Are you seeing it, Shami?
Yeah.
Problem is, you will not understand any of this if you are not an engineer in the IT software test industry. So you have to be a real engineer. So then maybe it will be relevant for you. Or you are learning, which is you.
Yeah.
So if you are learning stage of software test and test automation for an IT job, then maybe it makes sense for you.
Makes sense for me.
Otherwise, if you are not, then this video is not for anyone except you, because you are in the stage of learning. Now, if you want to learn and interested to learn on this thing, then let's do it from today. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, install Java JDK in your machine. So Sharmin, so we have started working something computer related. So go and install Java JDK, write some code, again write some more code. Do you think in this way we can move forward?
I don't think
No,
so.
because this is not the proper way of learning this kind of thing. We must understand the concept. So you understand, right? So we have to go through the concept first, each and individual concept. Then we need to understand about the process. So there is a process. Like all these things, they comes one after another and they combine together. There is a way of doing it, right? When you will write code, when you will install, like all those things. Something more we'll see later. All these item also, so you see Java, Cucumber, blah blah blah, right? All those things, they have a connection to each other also. We have to understand that connection also. You are getting it, right?
Right.
Okay. We need to understand that connection first. Now, software, that's the first word in our learning process. Test automation is the second word. The first word is the software, second word is test automation, and the third word is here is framework. Three different complete words, but they have their own meaning also in the IT industry. But together, like when we combine these three words together, then it represents a very big concept in IT. So that's what we are going to learn, right? To understand, we'll see a simple real life analogy first. So real life analogy means we'll see something that we do in real life and we'll try to relate that on this project, I mean this topic, so that we can feel it to learn very easily, right? So let's go and see something very real in our daily life. So this is a guy whose name is Tom, and he is a coffee lover. Are you a coffee lover?
Yeah.
You
I
love
am.
coffee, right?
Yes.
Okay, I love too. And this is a guy whose name is Jack, and he prepare coffee every day for Tom in the morning. Okay, and also whenever Tom asks, this guy makes. So what is his name? Jack, and he's Tom. Now, this is a coffee preparation process that follows every day,
Okay.
which is get some fresh coffee bean, warm some water in a pot, then mix coffee bean, pour the water into a coffee mug, mix some sugar, milk, and serve it to Tom. You understand this, right?
Yeah.
You understand this
It's
real life
procedure.
analogy? It's a
Yeah.
very easy and simple analogy, but here are three character and a working process. And the working process represent to Jack only, because Jack prepared the coffee. And you see this picture here, right? If you look into this picture here, so this guy is basically trying to prepare a coffee, and this is the process he is following, right?
Right.
He's pouring and all those things. Now, this is the first thing you have to understand from our real life world. And when you understand this, then we can move for the next slide. Okay. So let's go to the next slide. To prepare this coffee, Jack follows the simple same every day. The process he follow every day, same things. I just showed you, right? Now, one day Jack started thinking. The guy who prepared the coffee for Tom, he started thinking, isn't this same repeated process? Is there any way I can do it faster?
Okay.
Right? For some reason, he started thinking, I do same thing again and again. Why? Is there any way? And then he found a solution. And if you think now, you will also know the solution. And what is the solution here? Look here. What is this?
Coffee machine.
A coffee machine, which is a digital machine. Now, this will make Jack's work a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Now he doesn't need to do lots of things. He will just put a button. He will press a button and the coffee will be delivered to us. You understand this process, right? You understand the concept, right? Okay, now let's go to the next slide. Now let's connect the analogy. So the analogy you just saw, let's try to connect it with our IT topic that we are going to learn. Right? Assume coffee is like one software. So every coffee, we drink coffee inside a mug, like a complete coffee. Think like that's a software. So a software, a coffee, same thing. Okay. So Mr. Tom here is a client or user of the coffee. And at the same time, maybe he can user of the software. You got it, right? You use a software, so you are the client of the software. So coffee is here a software. We are representing coffee related to a software. And Tom is a software user, a coffee lover or coffee user, right? Jack is like one test engineer in IT industry. Now, this second part is very important. First, you understand coffee is a software. And the second part, you are seeing Jack, who prepare coffee every day, just feel like he is a test engineer. He is a software test engineer in IT industry, and he test. Now, here comes the word test. So, test is basically in the real life analogy, preparing the coffee, the process Jack followed. Pouring the mug, right? Mixing this, blah, 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 all those things. The same thing is represent the test in IT industry. Okay, so test means you have to do something like open a browser for a software, right? So let's say you want to use the Facebook software, you want to test it or you want to do something. So open a browser, enter a Facebook address, and then fill up the form like your login ID and password and then click the submit. Make sense?
Yeah.
Right? So software and coffee, same thing. Jack is a test engineer, right? And testing process of making the coffee process of Jack.
Yeah.
Make sense? And finally come the main part, what we are going to learn. Now Jack brought a digital coffee maker, right? Make sense? So Jack brought a digital coffee maker. That is framework in IT industry.
That
coffee machine. So the machine Jack brought to do his work faster. Same way, for a test engineer to make his test faster or something much better to do, he bought a framework.
So that it takes less time and it could be faster.
Right. So any question on this?
No.
Analogy so far, right?
No.
So there is a guy called Jack. Think like Jack is a test engineer. In real life, he's a coffee maker. So when you make the coffee, the entire process is like test cases, right? And open browser, same thing. And then finally, to make Jack life's work, Jack works little bit faster and good and convenient or productive, right? He brought a machine. So in IT industry, we brought a framework. So you understand the framework concept now?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go to the next slide. So let's summarize everything in one shot again, right? So if you see in the left picture, Google, a computer, a Facebook, these are all what? Software. And at the right side, if you think about Starbucks, Dunkin', they are all coffee. So software and coffee pretty much same thing, right? That we have to understand. And then test is like a step-by-step process. In our real analogy, Jack, what he is doing to make the entire coffee, right? So if you see open browser, enter a website address, and then fill up a form, click the login. This process is test, right? So you are doing this to test something, test a software. Similar way, what Jack is doing to prepare the coffee, right? That is also the process. So test and the Jack making coffee process is similar.
It's similar.
Right. Yeah. And finally, if you look here, automation framework is like a machine that helps faster the testing process like Jack used digital coffee. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
So if you see here, at the left side, a guy, he is using a Selenium framework or some framework, right? To make his testing process faster. And Jack is making his coffee making process faster. Make sense?
Yeah.
So any questions so far?
No, actually, it's pretty much clear.
So you have a software here. So you have a software here and you have a coffee here, right?
Right.
So they are both pretty much just
Similar.
feel like similar thing.
Yeah.
And you have a process of making coffee here and you have a process of testing
That's
is
similar.
here. That is also
Actually
similar. Right. I mean, the feel is similar, different approach, right?
Yeah.
In one place you put coffee bean, milk, sugar, you warm it, right? In one place you open a browser, you go to your website, you enter something.
I mean, that's the activities.
Right, the activities. Main thing is here activity. And finally, this guy here, the Jack, his fastest and productive thing is the machine, the digital coffee machine.
Yeah.
And for a test engineer, this
They're
framework
using
is the
Selenium. Yeah, framework, Selenium framework.
Framework is the main thing here. Okay, now we'll go to the next slide and we'll try to get a little bit more understanding. So at this point, if you didn't understand, I want you on the offline when you leave the class, you just watch this video from the beginning one more time. Okay.